Sorry. We're okay.
I draw somebody else to these meetings. What do you think you're going to knock?
I always told them the summer I was 43, living like I was 23, they damn near killed me. And the biggest problem is I got the money of 43 years old, like I was 23. I didn't have any money when I was done.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Waukesha Plan Commission meeting on June 9th, 2016, beginning at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Chairman Merrick,
Present.
Renee Ramirez. Present. Al White.
Here.
Bob Stigler.
Here.
Ken Miller.
Here.
Supervisor Fisher.
Here.
And Bob Flanagan is absent.
And Madam Clerk, have we met the opens meeting law?
Yes, we have.
And we can begin with citizens' comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 6, approval of the minutes for May 12th, 2016. Is there a motion? And a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 7, discussion and possible action on the site plan of operation for Power Products Plus. Responsible party is Aaron Mays. Location is West 246, South 3255 Industrial Lane. And do we have anybody from Power Products Plus here? No. Planner Ray Barczyk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The petitioner, which is Power Products Plus LLC, is looking to lease Unit 1 in an existing industrial building located at W246 South 3255 Industrial Lane. What the petitioner does is they deal in the sales and service of industrial batteries, battery chargers, and related equipment. The business will include a sales office, a service office, and then the warehouse to store equipment prior to delivery and repair equipment as needed. This would be a branch office. Their primary office is located in Green Bay. The business also uses one Ford E350 van, and they're looking potentially with the expansion of a second van or a Ford straight truck for the business. The business employs 2 full-time employees, and again, with the expansion to include potentially 2 additional full-time employees within the next 12 months. The hours of operation will be Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The petitioner has not proposed any changes or alterations or modifications to the unit that they're looking to lease. They're going to operate in that unit as it stands today. The site currently provides 13 parking stalls for customers and employees. Per our ordinance of off-street parking, the site needs a minimum of 11 total parking spaces, so they're well within that requirement. The proposed use is consistent with the allowable permitted uses in the I-1 Limited Industrial District. So that's a general overview of the applicant's petition. The building is a multi-tenant building. There's 3 tenant spaces. 2 are currently vacant, one of which they want to utilize. And the other space is occupied by the, just drew a blank, the inline rollerblade skating facility. So even with, looking at the office spaces, the warehouse spaces, I ran the parking counts for if the building was fully occupied, and they're still within the parking requirements. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and the Planning Commission for any questions.
How many square feet is the building in total?
Let me see if it's on the floor plan.
And/or how many square feet are they leasing?
Their unit is 5,000 square feet. The unit 2 is 5,000 square feet, and unit 3 is 4,000 square feet. So they are renting 5,000 square feet.
And is that a hazardous use, chief? Batteries, battery chargers, and then my question is it sprinkled building? Do we care about that?
It is not sprinkled. I don't know hazardous materials, because I don't know what kind of batteries they are. I don't know if they're acid-based batteries. I have no idea if there's no information on that. I tried to make contact with them. I tried to stop at their facility over on Wilma, but nobody's ever there. I have this whole thing from there, so I can't tell you if the cleaning will come in. I can't answer the question. Potentially could be if they're acid-based batteries, could be a hazardous situation.
And then would that require the building to then be sprinkled?
Probably not, but we would probably entail some kind of confinement and such in case there are schools and such.
Okay. And I'm obviously asking because of the battery problem that took down the towing company. What is the minimum or maximum amount of square footage a building can be before it's has to be sprinkled? And then when was that would that one be grandfathered in? Because I thought it was like 9,000 feet.
Construction, I'm not sure.
And then once you have a use change like that becomes a hazardous use, does that force sprinkling? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I would note that I think it's about 6:37 and the petitioner isn't here yet. I don't think we're doing good work here to try to continue discussion on this, and we have a bunch of unanswered questions. So having said that, I would move to table this matter.
Is there a second?
I can second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And so we should back up table to the next regular meeting of the Planning Commission?
I mean, I certainly don't object to putting that into the motion. I mean, the whole key to that is going to be to have the petitioner show up. So that's fine as part of the motion. Obviously, if they're not here, I'll make the same motion again.
Do we need to go back in time to make a motion again?
No, he can
Okay.
clarify the motion that way.
Fair enough.
What it means though is if they show up, they probably aren't gonna hear it tonight because it's been tabled now to a specific date.
On to B, initiate petition for zoning code changes in accordance with section 13-2-22 of the town code. Planner Rybarczyk?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe for this agenda item, as the Plan Commission and board members can see, there's a series of changes to the zoning ordinance that staff has been working on. In order to properly start the review and adoption procedures, we need to have the Plan Commission members make a motion to initiate the petition for these zoning changes. And then it's my understanding, once we have the motion to initiate item 7C, I will give a brief overview of the intent of the zoning changes, and then we will schedule a public hearing to discuss them in detail. Attorney Macy, did I get that correct?
Is there a motion to initiate the petition? In a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to C, conceptually discuss the zoning changes. Back to you, Planner Rybarczyk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight, there's a series of changes to the zoning ordinance that staff has been working on. These have come up as a result of either zoning violations or other development that we felt we should be looking at our ordinances. The first one, the section 13-2-8-4H, exterior site usage. What we did is we looked at adding an additional provision that could be used for the screening of exterior storage. So the screening of could be equipment or storage of materials that are part of a business. Currently, the code only allows one of two options. One is a 6-foot high fence, or two is a chain link fence with landscape screening. So per this amendment, what we did is we looked at adding yet a third that talks about something that's more of a landscape planting along with an earth berm that could be used for the storage of exterior materials. So that would be the kind of 7BI. What I'll do is I'll quickly kind of go out of order. I'll skip down to 7B6, which is section 13-210, subparent D, subparent 7, request for waiver modification. This is a section in our ordinance that talks about accessory buildings. Currently, anytime someone proposes an accessory building that exceeds the size allowed for the lot or does not fall within the location, if for some reason they want to locate it within the front yard, those would have to go to the Board of Appeals for review and approval. Over the last few years, we've had quite a few of those go to the Board of Appeals. Staff felt that it was probably better suited for those to come to the Plan Commission and the board versus Board of Appeals. So we've amended that section of the ordinance. So now that if it would pass, anytime someone wanted a waiver or modification or a special exception for the size of an accessory structure or the location of an accessory structure, per se in the front yard, those would now come before the town board and Plan Commission. So that's the recommendation for 7B6. For 7B 2, 3, 4, and 5, they're all they all work together. We've had some complaints in the township about the storage or parking of commercial vehicles and trailers. So what we've done is we've gone through numerous sections of the zoning code that talks about the storage of commercial vehicles and commercial trailers. And we have put together language that talks about, based on your lot size, how many commercial vehicles you could have, how many commercial trailers you could have. And then we've also clarified with regard to utility trailers, boat trailers, ATV trailers. And there's also a section that talks about motorhomes as well. So we've gone through and we've kind of clarified language within the code. And we've even taken it to the point where we've consolidated those provisions into one section of the zoning code, which is the off-street parking. Because as staff kind of looked at it, we noticed that there was provisions that were kind of interdispersed in numerous sections of the code. So we thought it made more sense to consolidate it in one section of the code. So that's the amendments that are before you with regard to 7B 2 through 5. All of these have been provided to the town clerk, and I believe that she has provided them to the Plan Commission and board members. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Any questions on any of these for Mr. Rybarczyk?
I do have one question with regard to 7B6 there, the request for waiver of modification. I think you said that would come to the board rather than to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I mean, typically when something has to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, my understanding is someone has to demonstrate a hardship or some unusual circumstance is, and maybe this isn't addressed in the ordinance change or whatever, but what kind of criteria would the board be, well, let me back up for a minute. Would that go to the plan commission before it comes to the town board, or is it just one stop at the town board if that were approved?
The way that it's written is that it would go to the plan commission first. The plan commission would make a recommendation to the board. And you're correct that I think they're early on when these were going to the Board of Appeals, there was some confusion, but Attorney Macy had attended a meeting and kind of gave us a 101 on variances versus special exceptions or waiver and modification. And the way that the accessory building ordinance is written is that we have a provision that allows for a special exception, or the language we used was a waiver or modification. So someone could ask of, at this point right now, the Board of Appeals for this waiver or modification and not have to present a hardship. That's the difference between the way that this is written and variances. And I think because of that, we felt that it really isn't a rule that should be governed by the Board of Appeals. They should really just focus on variances of the zoning code, and that this waiver, modification, and special exception is better served by the plan commission reviewing it and then providing a recommendation to the town board.
Go ahead.
My question, I mean, I read through all these and you basically crossed out wherever it said Board of Appeals or eliminated that. What is the function of the Board of Appeals after this, if this all goes through?
The Board of Appeals would strictly be looking at variances from the zoning code. So if someone wanted a variance from a side yard setback or a rear yard setback, or they wanted a variance from the floor area ratio of a building on a lot, they would go before the Board of Appeals and they would have to present a hardship in order for the Board of Appeals to grant the variance. But from this point forward, the Board of Appeals would solely be looking at variance requests from the zoning ordinance.
There are a few other statutory duties that are set out in the state law for the zoning board of appeals. They include that if a body or a person like the building inspector interprets the code in a certain way and the property owner believes that it's been misinterpreted, they have the right to appeal that. They play a judicial role in reviewing determinations by zoning administrators and variances. There is some shoreland stuff, but in this town, they wouldn't probably be involved in that. So this is the duty that they currently have with special exceptions is not a state statutory duty. It's a local duty that was given. State law used to read that all conditional uses had to go to zoning board of appeals, and the legislature changed that after one of our cases in the city of Waiver. So it's changed over the years. I can tell you that it's very atypical to have special exceptions go to the zoning board of appeals because of the cost and everything involved in the zoning board of appeals. This is something that, you have the right to two buildings if you have extraordinary circumstances, if you have, a certain specific set of facts, maybe a third building or a higher building or a closer building. That's what special exceptions are for. Unique situations, but not as onerous as a variance or a practical difficulty or unnecessary.
Make just one other quick comment, Mr. Chairman, please. And that would be not the time or place for it tonight, because the next meeting we'll discuss it. I'm going to be anxious to hear the discussion about the ordinance regarding outside storage. I want to just use that word loosely. And I know we had a bit of discussion of that even at a workshop about having different restrictions or permissibility based on lot size. I'm going to be anxious to hear and participate in that discussion. I can understand part of the thought behind it, part of it in concept concerns me a bit. I mean, I can see differentiating clearly between different types of zoning categories, for example, agricultural versus residential. I'm just a little bit troubled. I want to hear the conversation about that, where we decide at what point in time on a certain lot size it is or isn't acceptable to have something that somebody might deem unsightly in your front yard or front driveway or whatnot. I think tonight isn't the time to discuss that, but I think if we're going to do that, I think we've got to have an awfully good reason as to where we're going to draw the line, because then we're going to have two different, as I understand it, would have two different standards for residential properties in the town of Waukesha based on lot size. So I'll be anxious to hear that discussion.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Motion for adjournment? And a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Take it.